welcome to the Healthy Home Show. We are your hosts, Fernanda, Healthy Home Architect.
And I'm Eric, Healthy Home Contractor.
Together, we help people thrive by creating health homes. And today, we're here talking to Marla. Thank you so much, Marla, for being here.
You're welcome.
Hi. How are you today?
Doing good. Thank you. And you're talking all the way from Missouri, right?
Nope, actually Oklahoma City. I'm in two places. I still have an office in Missouri in St. Louis because I moved to here from there 3 years ago. So still kind of have a foot in both places.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, you were kind of right. But I am physically sitting in Oklahoma City today. So there.
Okay. So you can find her in two places now. It's even better.
Just find me online. That's easier.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and read your bio, and then we're going to dive into the interview.
Great.
So Marla, the Green Home Coach, helps you get the value of green for you, for your family, and your community. Her personal mission is to empower people, especially women, in their homes and families by sharing how green products and a focus on sustainability offer a safer, healthier, and more comfortable home. She hosts the Green Gab podcast and manages Everyday Green Home, an online shop. Her book, Living Green Effortlessly, Simple Choices to a Better Home, a 2018 IBPA Benjamin Franklin Award finalist, was published by NAHB Builders Book. Marla shares what makes a green home a home green and why it matters and how to do it. A little bit of a time or all at once. Marla is an NAHB Master Certified Green Professional, a LEED AP, and a Missouri Certified Woman Business Enterprise. She's graduated from the Washington University with a bachelor's degree in engineering and public policy. Marla, thank you so much.
That's a mouthful.
Yes.
No, right?
Great credentials there.
Oh, thank you. It's so weird to hear people say that.
Remind you.
I did all that.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
And remind yourself of who you are.
Yes, to some degree, although who you are and what you do kind of go hand in hand, right?
Yes. So we're going to talk today. It was so important to have you on this show because what you do, it's so important for this industry, right? The knowledge that you have and the experience you have, bringing awareness of a green home, a healthy home, and how the process works, it's very important. And that's why we're so pleased to have you on board today.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So let's get started with, could you potentially explain to us the concept of a green home today versus maybe what it has been and how people can prepare to start building a green home?
So first of all, I like to help everybody think of a green home. There's a lot of words for this, right? Sustainable, high performance. Then you'll also hear about energy efficient homes. And I get so many people that are like, I don't get it. Which is which? What's the difference? Green, sustainable, high performance typically are all about a holistically built home that performs better. So one of my favorite mantras is that we really all want to have a chance for our homes to look great and perform well. And oftentimes we kind of forget about the perform well until we live in it. And then it sneaks up on us and bites us in the behind, right?
Yeah.
So thinking ahead, when you remodel or when you build, or even when you're upgrading appliances or bathroom fixtures, if you think ahead and you kind of have that plan about, hey, what are we working towards, then that allows us to make more decisions that are more holistically based. So green homes really center on 6 different topics, and I base this on the certification programs. I work the most with National Green Building Standard, which is an ICC 700. Sorry for all the acronyms, y'all. But it is approved. It's released from the International Code Commission. It's approved by ANSI, which is the National Standards Institute. So this is not just out there. This is something that has had a lot of consensus coming around it. And this is the one I've worked with the most. It's also endorsed by the National Association of Home Builders, NAHB. And in the actual certification process, everything's broken down into 6 different categories, if you will, of things. So you start off thinking about the lot and the land. So the place, how the home is positioned on that land, how it impacts the land, and how the land impacts it. So this could be everything from stormwater management to rotation or orientation of the home to landscaping. So a wide breadth. So category number 2, resource efficiency. How well do we use the materials and all the stuff that we need to build the home, inside and out? And not only how well do we use it, but are we using the kind of materials that make sense? Are they regenerated? Are they recycled? Are they recyclable? All these questions that come in under the resources category. This is huge because our homes are made up of hundreds and hundreds of pieces of things to get a finished home. And they're pretty complicated, right?
Yeah.
So then we move on to number 3, energy efficiency. And this is probably the one people gravitate to the first because it's one that has been around the longest. If you think back to the 70s and 80s when we were building plastic wrapped houses, basically, to make them more energy efficient, which they were, but which we know resulted in a lot of health issues because we were basically putting people in a bubble. But energy efficiency is most importantly how the structure is built, because that's the piece we don't want to replace for a really long time. So how well the structure is built so that it protects not only from the elements, but really gives us a comfort factor, because that's what we're mostly after, right? Comfort. So energy efficiency goes beyond the envelope for the major systems in our house, mainly heating and cooling and hot water, even down to the lighting and how we use electronics in the house. So there's a whole bunch of ways that we can impact our energy efficiency. And if you have an existing house, that's something you can start doing today, right? Pretty easy. After energy efficiency is water efficiency. So using low flow water fixtures and plumbing fixtures is a great way to tackle this. There's also some advanced ways to keep going with that, but I love an easy solution whenever I can find one. And low flow fixtures, that's hard to say. That's just an easy one and done. From there, we go to one that heavily relates to health, and that's indoor air quality. And I like one of my very favorite podcasts is called Breathe Well. It's one of the Green Gab podcasts. And we talk all about the different things that impact the air that we breathe, the indoor air quality in our homes. And as you well know, this is a huge topic. I mean, we could spend hours and hours talking just about this. So the standard is actually set out in a way to help us do 3 things. That is to avoid pollutants in the first place. And that is to mitigate them when they do come in. And it is, oh my gosh, and I just forgot the third one. But there's some advanced practices that allow you to go above and beyond in how you are treating the air and what you're bringing in. Because it's inevitable we're going to bring in some of the nasty stuff. So you got to get rid of it. And if you think about it, that's ventilation. And if you look at HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, I think there's technically 2 A's in there the way I say it. But ventilation is kind of lost. We don't talk about that as much. We talk about heating and cooling. So that HVAC plays heavily in both energy efficiency and indoor air quality, and they're highly related to each other. And I'm sure you all know that in your practice. But that's kind of a big aha moment for a lot of people to realize that those 2 are so tightly linked. And that's the 5 physical categories of a holistically built house. And then there's a 6th category, and this one is all about the homeowner and how they live in the house, or rather the home. And that is all around homeowner education, documentation, so they have access to how to now drive this home that has now been built to meet their needs even better. And that component is really important, and it often gets overlooked. So that was a mouthful, but yeah. I find that if you know, we can all wrap our heads around this concept that there's kind of the categories of what we think in, at least it helps my mind to kind of go, okay, I can see how these interplay with each other, but I can also see what needs to happen in the different categories.
Absolutely. So where you guys are at, I mean, building standards vary from city to city and state to state.
Yes.
Obviously, we spoke about what we're doing for people, and one of the big ones, yeah, obviously air. And that was as you say, an aha moment for us. Was we were with our energy upgrades living in a big plastic bubble
Yeah.
and 5 times the level of CO2 in our house, which was
Ouch.
one of the big downfalls to our health. But then they've implemented these things on new homes, and I don't see these standards happening on existing homes. But what kind of things are you seeing as far as fresh air ventilation and bringing that into the home on the new building?
So it ranges quite a bit, and a lot of it is built on how tight the home is.
Yeah.
So in the past, we've depended on air leakage in our homes to bring in fresh air. And when we had simple clapboard houses, or one or two materials in a house, it wasn't the greatest way to get fresh air, but it was at least cleaner. Well, now our wall assemblies are made up of 5, 6, 7 different materials, one of those being insulation. So if your house, your walls are leaking, they're leaking through all that stuff. So now they're not only bringing in what's outside, they're bringing in everything that is in those materials in the wall. So that's a big part of it, is that this leakage is not what we want. So what we prefer to see is a much more airtight house. So air sealing is your friend. And insulation, as you guys well know, insulation works much better when you have actually zipped up, all the cracks, the nooks and crannies in the structure. Kind of think of you've just bought a really great down parka, and you go outside on a really cold day, but you don't zip your coat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, is that going to work? Yeah, not so much. Well, that's what insulation is like in our homes if we have an air sealed. We're just running around with an open coat. So we have the materials, but we're not putting them to good use. So air sealing is critical. But as you pointed out, now we're locking ourselves in the house in a very well sealed home with all that stuff, because inevitably we're going to bring in toxins, allergens, stuff on our shoes, stuff in our fabrics. I mean, it comes from all over the place, even in your dry cleaning, right? So how do you get rid of it? Well, we also used to open windows. I grew up with all of our windows opened, and we opened windows whenever there was a nice day. I still do that. I love fresh air. And so whenever the temperature is high enough, my windows are open. But what do you do in the interim? What do you do during the cold winters? And this is where mechanical ventilation really plays a part. And this can be as simple as using your exhaust fans, your bathroom exhaust fans, on a continuous operation level. If the house is above a certain air tightness level, or actually below, because the lower the number, the tighter the home, then we suggest, and in some states, they require it by code, and it varies by state, some kind of fresh air intake. And it can be as easy as a baffle into the air intake system for a central heating and air system. It can be more complicated with an ERV, an energy recovery ventilator, or a heat recovery ventilator. One of them conditions the air, one of them doesn't. And in certain guidelines, like if you're building, I believe Passive House requires an ERV or an HRV. Passive House, for those of you that don't know, is probably the most stringent energy efficiency standard out there. And there's a lot of them. And I think that's part of the confusion, is there's so many programs and they're all a little bit different. But doing something's better than nothing at all. So if it is a third-party program, chances are that it is going to take you above a code-built house no matter what.
Yeah,
and
one of
codes
the
are
things
for safety, right? They're not necessarily for health and comfort.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things we see too, it's like when people think about indoor air quality, doing the test for indoor air quality, they only do like for an hour. But there's so many things, as you're saying, the way we work, or the way we do things inside of the building will change that indoor air quality throughout the day.
Yes.
Like if you wear perfume, or if you clean with, bad cleaners, or if you bring in furniture that has a lot of flame retardant, or all of those things will affect the air. And we very often don't think about that because there's not enough education. And I think that touches in what you're saying. Then it comes like, how do we educate the homeowner in how to live inside of that healthy home if they don't change their habits?
And I think sometimes there's so much that can go wrong and so many things that can happen. And we're bombarded with so many, chemicals in our food and in our products and in our homes and in our yards that I think we kind of shut it out. I really do think there's a sense of overwhelm right now. And this almost fatalistic view that, well, I can't do it all, so why should I do anything?
Yeah.
Right.
And I would challenge people that do something, pick 5 things and just start. And that, I think, is a revelation to a lot of people, because I think so many people feel it's like trying to manage your weight or get healthier or more fit. If you jump in and try to do everything at once, you're probably not going to stick to it. But if you do 1 or 2 new things at a time and develop a new habit, you got a pretty good chance of it sticking. And it's the same with our homes.
Absolutely.
It's exactly the
really
same.
like your approach as far as taking little steps. Maybe you could walk us through like a process that you go through with one of your customers and avoid the overwhelm with them. Like, maybe could you walk us through like how you introduce these steps to people and make it in a way that they can understand and go, oh, this is something I can do? Or do you do
And so part of that I do with conversations like this and walking them through these 6 categories. That alone has been such a help to people getting it.
Got it.
And then I also have some training out there that actually, through the free gift, that anybody that listens to this program is going to be also offered an opportunity for the training that I do. And this training takes those 6 categories and breaks it down into concrete things that you can do. And I think that's so astonishing to so many people, that there are things you can do right now. And the more you think about what you're doing right now, then when you get to that remodel or that whole home, a brand new home, then you're already thinking in terms of, okay, how do I do this better? And sometimes we don't have that opportunity and we're jumping right in. So I'm working with a client right now who is a new builder. And the cool thing was, with her being a new builder, she didn't have a lot of habits already. Mm-hmm. She is still a general contractor, so she's very familiar with the processes and what it takes to physically work in a home. But having this first go at the whole house, we're getting to do some things really different. Now, I am her coach to help her get through what is required to green certify this home. So we sat down at the beginning. There's a very extensive, comprehensive checklist if you are going all the way with a green certified home. And we sat down with it and we went through the entire list to choose the practices that she knew she already did or was planning to do, and then to look at what practices made sense for the way she was building. This is part of the reason I love the National Green Building Standard. There's over 1,100 possible practice points, but it only takes, I think it's 261, I hope I quoted that number right, points to qualify at the bronze level. So that's a lot of flexibility. That's a lot of choices of practices. I had somebody once say, well, we can't do the land piece because we're in a city. And then I had somebody else say, oh, we can't do the land piece because we're out in the country. So, both people see it the other way. But the cool thing is that there's a lot of flexibility in it. But this educational piece is what's important. And a lot of my work and my passion is, and the way I can help people is by helping them to understand this doesn't have to be challenging. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very approachable. You just kind of have to let go of some of the ways that we've been taught to think or have thought for a long time. My book, which you mentioned earlier, Living Green Effortlessly, is exactly that. It's very filled with what can you do? And what are some of those things you do? And how do you get started? So it's very much of here's the kind of things you can do. I'll give you an example. How many times have you heard someone say, oh, my house, it's just not very energy efficient. I need new windows. All the
That
time.
was
That was
us.
us.
That was us.
We were-
That's where it all got started for us.
Yeah.
So, unbeknownst to most people, unless you're tearing down walls, putting on an addition or something like that, new windows is one of the longest returns on your investment you can make in an upgrade in your home. And if they're not installed properly, here again, when we build a house, we have a better opportunity to get things all put together because the jigsaw puzzle works better. So when you're replacing windows, if they're not flashed in correctly, that flashing, for you guys that aren't familiar with the term, is what helps them to be waterproof up against the wall. Because if they're not waterproof, I'm guessing you guys know what happens. You get water in there and you get mold. And then you can't figure out where it's coming from because you don't see a leak.
Mm-hmm.
Or the wall is wet on the inside of the house, but you can't figure out where it's coming from, and it's coming through the wall. And this is a huge source of mold and mildew for a lot of homes. And that's one of the number one contributors to our indoor air quality being problematic, which you guys know very well.
Yeah, we learned it the hard way. We call it a pain to purpose.
Yeah.
I had to pay the price to learn all of that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe, well, you would definitely believe, you probably met them too. It's so many people are going through the same thing that we went through, this mysterious illness from things that you can't see that are going on in your home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think, now we get, to that point where when we start talking to contractors or people in the industry, they look at us like, what are you talking about? No, we have been doing this for hundreds of years, and that's how we have been building houses. And now out of the blue, everybody started getting sick from their home. And that doesn't make sense. So we face a lot of challenges sometimes, like with the industry, with even architects or interior designers and contractors, trying to being the middleman in between the homeowner who wants to have a healthy home and has a little bit of understanding about it, and the contractor that they really trust. They really want to work with that contractor, but he's not on the same page. How do you overcome that kind of issue?
The best way to overcome it, which isn't always possible, is for all stakeholders to be in the room, face to face, eyeball to eyeball, agreeing on the goals of the project and what the priorities are. And that's key, not only for the homeowners to be there and the contractors, but other major contractors such as heating and cooling contractors, electricians, plumbers. So many times in a house, we'll see one trade need to do something and their work is in the same place as another trade, like the plumbing pipes need to go where the electricity wires are going. And without thinking about things beforehand, I mean, just from a practicality standpoint, sitting down together and agreeing on those goals and how you're going to achieve them is the best way to get there.
Absolutely.
I think we're kind of coming to a point where people that feel very strongly about doing it the best way that they can, people like you, are going to offer their clients this opportunity. And there may be times when clients and people providing services are not good matches. I'm uncomfortable working with somebody that does not want to achieve the goals. And there's times that people are forced, like through not financial regulations, but their financing institution. But there's certain projects that have to have a green certification. And oftentimes, at least in the past, I think it's really getting better. But there would be times when a contractor, builder, developer, the only reason they were building green was because they had to. So anywhere they could, there was sometimes just trying to skirt it. And I'm not going to risk my personal and professional reputation. So that's a challenge. And I think all of us are going to run into that. So if you are on the homeowner side out there, and this is something important to you, Be willing to talk to several different companies, people, until you find the ones that are willing to work with you the way that makes sense and the way to achieve your goals. And it doesn't have to cost more. Everybody gets so caught up that it has to be more expensive. But it's like everything else we do, right? There's trade-offs. And if you plan together, what's the old saying? Plan the work, work the plan. Mm-hmm. If you plan it up front, the changes that are going to happen throughout that project go way down. And that in and of itself saves a lot of money and time and pulling your hair out. And, so just getting ahead of it up front is probably the most important thing we can all do. You can't tell I'm kind of passionate about that, can you?
Yeah, absolutely agree with you 100%. We've seen the same thing. And, on homes, especially commercial projects, a little bit different and following their rules. But yeah, when you're dealing with a homeowner, absolutely necessary to get all of these things up front. It's
now usually, the air conditioner and the electrician, those are the last guys to be brought into the home. And one of the things that people don't understand, and again, it goes back to education, is that the indoor air quality, it's one of the main keys for a healthy home. So that should be a trait that should be brought up in the very beginning of the project, and not just like, okay, like Eric faced so many challenges, like, okay, now I have to put an equipment here, but there's no room. And they just want a miracle to be done. But if all the trades were together ahead of time with the architect, all of that could have been solved. And cost less. And that's another thing, right? Because if you plan ahead, as you're saying, if you plan ahead, then you don't have to change the building after it's already framed,
right?
To make an efficient, indoor air quality.
And the same process applies for remodeling. Matter of fact, the National Green Building Standard can be used to certified remodeled projects, and it's pretty flexible, and things that you're not redoing as part of the remodel don't get counted against you. So it's very comes in where you are and works with you to see what you can do to improve from there. So it's a great way to, I call it green as you go. So, as you add on things and as you upgrade and maintain and replace things, you just keep doing it a little bit better. But I think so many of us, I think we just get caught in this, that the builder knows best. And one of the workshops I teach that I absolutely love to teach, and I've only done it a couple times, but it's called Dreaming Your Green Home. And it's an opportunity for people to sit down and think about what they want their homes to be for them. What do you want your home to be? A place of refuge? How do you want it to feel? What do you want to happen in your home? And what is a physical structure that supports that? Is there big gathering areas? Is there a big covered patio? Does it have great views? Is it very tranquil? All of these feelings that we associate with a home. And this is our biggest investment and where we spend most of our time. And we don't take this time. So once you take that time and you know what your priorities are, now you're prepared to go talk to a contractor, a builder, with the information that I know I want these things. How can you help me do that? And now we've shifted the conversation from the builder coming in and saying, here's what I provide, what do you want? To here's what I want, how can you help me get there? So now we've built a partnership as opposed to tossing the ball over the net. And I think that's how it feels with many builders. Now, there are a lot more builders doing it differently now. And I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited that they're able to have a much more partnering way in the business. And I'm thrilled that we're seeing more and more of that. But there's still a lot out there. So buyer beware.
So if somebody wants to find a contractor that it's, already thinking green, and it's already, open and willing to work on a project like this, where can they find? Because one of the challenges that we face is like, what we faced when we wanted to create our healthy home was like, who do we look for? What do we search for? Do we search for a healthy home? Do we search for a contractor, green contractor? How do they find, you or contractors and architects?
And green is probably the word most of them are going to use. So one resource that I have found really helpful, and again, it's around the National Green Building Standard, but there is a website that lists all the builders who have built National Green Building Standard homes, remodeled homes, and it also has a button on there for people that want to live in a apartment that has been built to the National Green Building Standard. And this is a super easy website. It's N like Nancy, G like girl, B like boy, S like Sam.com. And it's a very friendly site, very easy to use. There are other sites for other green building programs. So if there is a green building program in your region, if you will go to that green building program, they almost always have a list of people that work with that program. So that's a great resource for you. If nothing else can be found, look for a ResNet builder or someone that builds with the HERS standard. This is an energy efficient measurement called HERS, the Home Energy Rating Score, HERS Index actually. And ResNet is the hosting organization, but on ResNet's site, they also have a directory of people that work with the homes, that rate them, and then also people that build them. Energy Star is a similar thing. Again, even though Energy Star and HERS are much more energy focused, they're building in a lot of indoor air quality and healthy homes provisions as well. With there's some partnering certifications that they work with. So for instance, Energy Star, which is a name we all know, there is a whole house certification for Energy Star, and they have a second certification called Indoor Air Plus that addresses the air quality. So again, we've got that energy efficiency and indoor air quality working hand in hand.
And all the links are going to be on the page. So if you didn't get the notes, don't worry. We're going to put all the links on the notes.
Well, and so one of the privileges that I've had in my work is that I'm a researcher kind of by nature, and I've been able to find a lot of these resources and get them out. And that's probably the funnest. How's that for good grammar? The most fun with my podcast is that I get to help get these resources out to the world with the people that come on and talk with us. So that's just like great. You guys are doing.
Exactly. I mean, that's the biggest part is the education, right?
Yeah.
I had a quick question. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but it seems like there's this transition from focusing on just energy efficiency to where now you see organic foods and a more holistic approach to living in general.
Yeah.
Are there green building standards that just focus on the health of the home as far as low tox materials, low tox, any type of thing that you're going to be doing within the home?
The one that, and I'm actually a professional in this certification, Wellness Within Your Walls. Mm-hmm. And this organization came around a few years ago, and its founder, Jillian Pritchard Cook, had a big health issue, similar story, and really started looking at the toxins that were in all the things that were coming into a home, and her home in particular. So Wellness Within Your Walls has 3 different ways of looking at your home from a wellness perspective. You can go natural, you can go sustainable, or you can go responsible. So for instance, responsible says I'm looking at things that may be synthetic, but they're going to be the least harmful. Whereas all natural, self-explanatory, and sustainable has a couple of different meanings, but a lot of it is it renewable? Is it recyclable? Is it these kinds of things? So that's a really good tool. There's also, like I said, there's Indoor Air Plus, which is an EPA standard, the Environmental Protection Agency. And there's a number of others. There's the WELL program, which is affiliated with the U.S. Green Building Council. I've not gotten a lot of education in that one yet, but they're all working after this similar objectives, which is how do we look at the stuff that's coming into the home and help to mitigate it? Or better yet, not bring it in the first place. And I think that's the other thing that so many of us just don't realize what we bring in. And you can't always tell it's there. I'm super sensitive to any synthetic fragrance. So if I'm in a mall, for instance, I can get within, 100 yards of a place where there's a lot of synthetic fragrance and I can smell it. And it happens not to agree with me very well. So I, for instance, can tell in a moment if I walk into a new home and there has been some kind of finish used that has a strong synthetic base or a strong synthetic fragrance. But not everybody has that reaction. So how do you know? And a lot of the things that we are sold on TV and the internet and everywhere else that smell good, and we're selling that they smell good, don't smell good naturally.
Yeah.
And so we don't realize what else is coming in with that. And I think that's the education piece that I applaud y'all helping to get that word out. But there's just, we know what we know and we don't know what we don't know.
And I think that's the power of community, is that, there's, we were talking about earlier, there's not enough of us to help all the people that need to start changing their habits and start, looking into their homes and changing their homes. So it's very easy sometimes to just, like, there's a one client that said, oh, no, I don't want to hear about mold. Ignorance is a bliss, which it is until it's not, right?
Right.
Because what they look at is, when they think about green homes, or the first thought that people think about is, how much is going to cost me? This is going to cost double of the price. This is going to cost much more. And that's not true.
You're right. It is not true. It's all about trade-offs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, just to really, the biggest takeaway that we already know, but hopefully we can communicate to the listeners, is, I'm sure you'd agree, is attack this stuff early. Like, get this conversation happening early on in the process.
The earlier, the better.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about this workshop that I had the opportunity to teach, is it gave people another way to think about their homes and the conversations they have with the people that help them with their homes. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of us think that we can drive that conversation. I think we think that we can't. And there's, pardon me, Eric, for a moment, but there's a huge movement afoot right now to empower women. And
I'm on board with that one. Believe me.
Good.
This is her show. I'm just here as her honored guest to help
See,
her.
Look at that. That's amazing.
Nah, believe me, I see this movement, and I'm so for it. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
So
I applaud powerful women.
How about being empowered to make decisions in our own homes? I mean, we already make 90%-ish, give or take, of the decisions about a home. So why not make them in a way that's going to be in line with your values?
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that a lot of us are already buying organic. We're using essential oils. We're meditating or doing yoga, something to be mindful. We're recycling. That's a whole nother topic. I could talk for hours on that one. I won't. So I may be doing all those things, but I don't consider myself green. Yet all of those actions are tiptoeing into the greenish world, the green world, sustainable world, the mindfulness. All of this is a part of us thinking about what we're doing. So we've been thinking about what we put in our bodies by what we eat, what we put on our bodies by the care products that we use. Well, now, where does your body live? Mm-hmm. In a home. So these three work very closely together. And as you've mentioned before, we need to look at us holistically. Our house is a system of systems. We are a system of systems, and they all work together, or don't. We want them to work together, right?
Yeah.
So we have to support it. And I just don't think that enough of us have viewed our houses and our homes as a health and wellness consideration, but more as a safety and refuge consideration. Mm-hmm. And I think that conversation is starting to shift. I'd love to see it shift faster, but I do think it is starting to shift.
And even like not, like the beauty of the home, right? One of my neighbors, when we were talking about creating natural homes and healthy homes, she was saying, and where do you buy furniture for it? So there's like that question that they don't even know that there are a lot of resources out there.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And we have a lot of options. It's just like when organic food became organic, and you couldn't find that much. Like even in Brazil, where I'm from, you can't find organic. And if you do, it's like 10 times of the price, which organic should be the natural way of eating anyways.
Right.
So people have that mindset that it's hard to find, it's expensive, and just not going to do it.
But don't you think that's changed a lot?
It
Absolutely.
is, yeah.
I mean, Aldi carries organic food now.
Yeah.
So I can go to Aldi, I can go to Trader Joe's, to Whole Foods, to my local grocery store, and Walmart. I get organic food in Walmart.
Of all places,
yeah,
exactly.
And with the advent of grocery delivery and internet and everything being so close together, it has broadened our minds. Although sometimes I think there's too many choices. But now we have an opportunity to help people think differently about their homes. There's actually even a sustainable furnishings council that helps to spread the word about sustainable furnishings. So there's tons of resources out there. You're right. It's knowing what to ask about. And I'm finding a lot of companies that are being started or ramping up right now that sustainability and green are more buried in. Like, pardon me throwing around all these brand names, but I had somebody ask me one day, they said, well, is IKEA sustainable? And I just started laughing. I'm like, yeah, let me direct you to the page on their website that'll show everything they're doing. But because that's just kind of more of a way of life in Europe, it's thought about differently there than it is here. And so if people don't know to ask the question, they don't necessarily know things are or aren't. And I think our companies could do a much better job of educating their end users about the enhanced values that are in their products, especially when there's a green or sustainable element to it, which a lot more products have now than brag about it. But that's something that's still coming too. But people want green options. Women want green options. Mm-hmm. And we want green options for our homes. We want to know that we're doing better for the people that live in our homes and our families and ourselves. And as that comes around, I think there's more and more people asking more questions. But so one of the things I get asked a lot of is, what are your top 3 things that you do that you would recommend people do to get started? And energy efficiency wise, that's easy. LED light bulb. Even if you just replace the most frequently used bulb in your house with an LED, you'll see a big difference pretty quickly. And I love the way they light, and they don't have to be changed. So it stays up there for years. I don't have to climb on a ladder. That's A-okay with me. Number 2 is green cleaners. And there's tons of options for green cleaners in your big box store, online. There's local, there's regional, there's national, or DIY. If you like to make your own stuff, there's tons of great recipes, stuff our grandparents used. Lemon vinegar and baking soda are your best friends. I'm not a big crafter, so I have a few brands that I live by, and I've tried a lot of them. But green cleaners are a great way to get started because you can get a lot of chemicals out of your house. Even if you don't go with the top cleaner, you go with a much better cleaner, you're still going to get some of the benefits. And then the third thing I recommend for everybody to think about, and you guys will laugh at this one probably, and that is recycled toilet paper. See?
Okay, I'd like to talk about that because here's something interesting. I don't want to go too far off the topic, but it has a lot to do with that. One, we just learned recently that it's highly toxic and it's just off-gassing into the bathroom. And I've never had allergies my whole life, and I started noticing allergic type of reaction every time I would go to where the toilet paper is.
Huh. So there has been some research showing that there is, I believe it's BPA. I don't remember. I'm so bad at remembering names of all these chemicals. And this comes from us recycling receipts that are the kind of paper where the printing will eventually go away, but there's a coating on that paper. And so number one, we're urging people to quit recycling that kind of paper. But there's trade-offs with everything, right?
Exactly.
So if you're not allergic to this stuff and you can handle it, I have never had an issue with it, but I have heard this story before. You're not the first. But I think one of the things that we need to choose, if you are having an allergy problem, find a non-tree solution to toilet paper. So there's bamboo options. I keep hearing they're trying hemp options, but I haven't seen anything yet.
Which one?
Hemp.
Oh, hemp. Okay, got it.
Our save all plant that's going to cure the world. I don't know. They claim it all. But we are tearing down forests to make toilet paper.
Yeah.
I had always assumed that they kind of used the bits and pieces from the trees to make toilet paper, and that's not necessarily the case. So even if it's a sustainably managed forest, I'm kind of in favor of using old growth wood to build things that'll last rather than one-time use products. And the way toilet paper goes to end of life when we use it. So it's a good way to use a recycled product because the paper fiber can be used multiple times and then go to end of life as toilet paper. But it's just like single-use plastic, it's one time and done. Sorry, go ahead.
It's recycled paper, not recycled toilet paper, right?
So, but it can go from paper to recycled paper, depending on what quality of paper it was the first time. It might have a second life as a second type of recycled paper. But every time you recycle paper, the fibers get shorter. So toilet paper uses short fibers, which is why it's a good candidate for recycled paper. So hopefully we will figure out the chemical aspect of it, and that will get rid of that. It's also not typically bleached with chlorine. And I wonder if you have a chlorine. Do you know if yours is bleached with chlorine or not?
That's what I'm thinking too. That's what we just found out. Yeah, this toilet paper is heavily bleached. So yeah, I don't know if it's both. Well, then paper is little shards of splintered wood. Right. That's probably getting into the air as well as a particulate, which would aggravate your nasal passage as well. Yeah, I don't know, but that's a great option. I didn't even know about recycled paper.
It's just a way for us to save the resources we have for the uses that are going to last the longest.
Yeah.
One of the things I hear from a lot of people, when I laughingly refuse a plastic bag in the grocery store or wherever I am, always my little retort is, well, I'm saving a plastic tree. But how many people in this world, we ask a group of people this in seminars I was doing several years ago, how many people know what plastic is made from? And not a lot of people raised their hands. And that kind of worried me, because plastic is made from oil. And if we're going to have oil, I'd rather be at least using it for something that's going to be a bigger impact than something I'm going to throw in the trash. So there's so many different conversations, because plastic can be recycled, yes, but we're not going to recycle our way out of this issue. Anyway, there's so many. Something that is plastic inside of a home that's going to last for a long time can be a very viable option and a great way to use plastic. So there is a place for plastic, and our homes may, it's a very durable, lightweight product. So our homes may be a good place for that, as long as it's not off-gassing. So
yeah, and that's why I think it's so important when we talk about sustainability to include kids in the conversation, like my 4 and my 7-year-old kids. They understand since they were little. Before they start even reading, they knew the word organic. They know anything that has numbers on the box are toxic to their bodies, and they're already talking a language where they are acknowledging things around them just by listening to us talking and making different choices when we go to the store. So I think it's so important to include them in the conversation, because they are the ones that are going to be more impacted by all the decisions we're making today. They're
going to have to live with it a lot longer than we are. And that's one of my driving wise is I don't want to leave my children and my grandchildren with all this mess. So I want to do what I can. It's going to it is improving my life too. So, I mean, that's a bonus, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is sometimes overwhelming and frightening to look at the magnitude of how fast these changes have occurred. They've occurred for the most part in my lifetime, and that's frightening. And just like our technological advances have been moving at an exponential rate, also have a lot of other aspects of our culture and the way we live. So eventually we have to ante up.
Yeah. And then to just kind of tie everything together, definitely to not feel overwhelmed, start somewhere, get a coach, preferably, that can help you through that basically spends all of their time researching and implementing these things to give you simple steps, like your 6 steps, and just start right there and then build from that.
Thank you. You're absolutely correct. And there's so many things that can be done. So take heart. We have many options.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, it was such a pleasure talking to you, and you shared so many good, important points here that I think our audience will be able to look at their homes in a different way and start asking questions. And I think just open up this conversation, start asking questions. It's a it's a good place to start with.
Yes.
So from everything we talked about today, if you could go home right now and look at around your home and start thinking about the cleaning products, the building materials, the furnish, and the indoor air quality, the water quality.
The light bulb, as she said.
The light bulb, like the small things you can do today. There's always small steps we can take. So one step forward every day. I think that's very helpful.
You are absolutely correct. And for anyone that wants help just prioritizing those, that's what I do. So happy to help wherever I can.
So your link, it's going to be on the page. So for any of you guys that are watching us, you're going to be able to find Marla's link to her gift, and she has a free gift for you today as well. Do you want to talk about it, Marla?
Yes, I'm so excited about this. You will get one of my research works, a white paper of sorts called 5 Myths of Green Homes. And this is going to help you see the potential money that we've been leaving on the table by not knowing these 5 myths. And this is equally good for anyone that is a home professional and works with homeowners as well as homeowners themselves. So this works for both sides of the equation.
Yeah, that's totally right. Well, again, do you have any final words of wisdom that you want to leave our audience with? Something that you think it's very important?
Take action. Do something. Just pick one thing, preferably 5, but pick something and do it. Just do it.
I agree. Absolutely. It's just like getting in shape with your body or starting, maintaining, and running a business. There's many aspects of it, and you're going to be somewhere in a year, 5 years, 10 years. So
don't take the long route like we did. Like if we had known somebody like you when we went through what we did, our journey would have been shorter, easier, less frustrating, less overwhelming, and probably less hard in our relationship as well.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Sometimes we learn the most that way, but I totally hear you.
Well, I guess we've done that to help others, but if you want to avoid pain and go a much easier route, call her.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you so much for your time with us. We really appreciate it. It was a pleasure. And we hope that, a lot of people can get value from this interview and contact you. And don't forget to download your free gift. And all the links are going to be in the page. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all take care.